Hello, everyone. Let me know how my audio is. I'm going to be reviewing this video by Full Metal Theist of Apostate Prophets video. So we're reviewing a review video. Okay. So again, this is Full Metal Theist. He's a Muslim. He's reviewing the Apostate Prophets video, and video that we celebrated here a lot on Atheist Republic, which he came out and discusses atheism. And this Muslim channel is criticizing that, and we're going to see if he has any good points, anything that we could learn, or anything we can critique together here. It's not going to just be me, okay? It's going to be me and you guys together. So you guys better have some good points. And a reminder, Soha, like Soha always reminds you, if you guys want me to read one of your comments, you have to tag Atheist Republic at Atheist Republic. And if you're a member, it really helps me notice your comments. So forgive me if I do not notice your comments. I'm trying, because it's hard to pay attention to this video and pay attention to the live chat as well. Again, the two things that helps is if you tag Atheist Republic and if you're a member. Okay, cool. Oh, here, Dolly is here. Hello, Dolly. Soha is here. Ali is here. Music guy is here. Yeah, okay. So again, forgive me if the live chat goes by and I don't see something in the live chat. You guys, I hope you can be forgiven, but I try my best. If you tag it, yeah, exactly. If you tag Atheist Republic, it really does help. Okay. Cool. Let's get into this video. This video is 20 minutes long. Usually it takes me an hour just to review 7 minutes. So if I want to review 20 minutes, I have to try to do less pauses. It's very difficult for me to do less pauses. I'll try my best though, okay? And again, I'll try to, when I have Susanna here, she's very helpful in figuring out who's in the live chat is talking to us. When I'm here by myself, it's a little bit more difficult, okay? But I'm going to try my best, okay? All right.
Right. I am an atheist, as mentioned before. I'm not agnostic about my atheism, so I am not the one who says that we do not or cannot know whether God exists or not. I would say that I am Gnostic, sure, in my atheism. So I certainly reject the belief in God, and I'm convinced that God does not exist.
Assalamu alaikum. Full Metal here. Ridwan claims to be an agnostic atheist, which means that he knows there is no God. The problem with such an assertion is that in classical theism and pretty much of the religions on the planet, the conception of God has the common denominator.
Okay, I really have to ask you guys to, if you're tagging Atheist Republic, it needs to be something, you guys, I'm trying to pay attention without pausing too much. So if you're tagging Atheist Republic, please make sure it's something about the thing that we're highlighting, because if I see Atheist Republic being tagged, it's going to distract me to pay attention to you guys. And then if it's not something about what we're reviewing, then it's like I just lost my chain of thought. Okay, so please, if you're tagging Atheist Republic, try to make it something about the stream that we're talking about. Thank you.
In classical theism and pretty much of the religions on the planet, the conception of God has the common denominator of being seen as transcending empirical reality. So what Ridwan has here really is
transcending empirical reality. So that means that there's no way for us to know that it's real, okay? If it transcends empirical reality, that means there's no way to observe it, right?
An epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on how do we know things. And the problem Ridwan is facing with this kind of assertion is, I know that a reality which I cannot empirically verify does not exist.
That's not true. Who is this guy? This guy thinks like he's being very philosophical and all. Well, based on that definition of the God that you give, then yeah, that's a deistic God. That's not an Islamic God. You could make it different. We could be an agnostic God towards a deistic God, but the God of Islam, which may be or the God of Christianity, which may be the God that Apostate Prophet is referring to, does interact or is claimed to interact with the real world. So it does have interactions, and if you claim it has some interactions, like it answers prayers, it does miracles, and crap like that. It basically destines everything. It is basically the most involved thing in the empirical world. So in that sense, if that's your God, which is definitely the Abrahamic God, almost every God that we know in history and in every culture and civilization until recently, where people got desperate enough to come up with gods that is completely independent from the real world. It's a God that should be empirically verifiable, given that the amount of interaction that it has with the known world. So maybe what's the definition that he gave?
One has here really is an epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on.
No, not that. Not the definition of epistemology. Where's the definition of? Do you have a God definition? Okay, I don't know what that is anymore.
Of being seen as transcending empirical reality. So what Ridvan has here really is an epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on how do we know things. The problem Ridvan is facing with this kind of assertion is, I know that a reality which I cannot empirically verify does not exist. Now, Ridvan.
If you make claims about your God, if your God is defined in ways that is self-contradictory, or defies what we can observe about the universe, like your God is beyond your gods have been defined in way beyond, have a lot more attributes than just something that is beyond, transcends what we could observe, right? There's your God tortures people while claims to be all loving and all forgiving. There are many, your God is an all-knowing, has a book, a direct word of God that makes claims about the universe that is proven to be false. So it cannot be all-knowing and make those claims. So these are gods that come with a lot more definitions that can be observed. So it doesn't. So you could think that the God itself, like its existence, even if you claim it transcends our observations, you are making a lot more claims about the nature of this God that is very easily debunked. So if your God comes with all those definitions, then you could totally be Gnostic atheist towards the God with those definitions, right? Because it's just self-contradictory, or it's observed that those claims are false, right? So you don't, So unless this Muslim guy is a deist, then his God is completely, being a Gnostic atheist towards his God is completely justified. The only people that could claim, and that it's more logical for us to be agnostic atheists towards their God, are deists, right? And their God is as useless as a God that doesn't exist, because they believe in a God that is indistinguishable from a God that doesn't exist. So you might as well go through your life acting like that God doesn't exist. What is it saying? Ian is saying, Armin, but the creator can't be all-powerful example. Be all-powerful example. Is that like a sentence finished there? Okay. Do you mean a creator can't be all-powerful? For example, we created AI. Okay, guys, if you want me to be able to read what you're saying, maybe let me know when that one sentence ends and another sentence begins. For example, we created AI, but AI can kill us, so we are God of AI, but we aren't all-powerful. I'm not very sure what you're getting at here. But the creator can't be open. Yeah, but just because you could come up with an example, that doesn't mean that your example is means that it's going to be the situation for every single. I don't think that necessarily your conclusion necessarily follows.
Here cannot cop out by saying that I lack belief in God, which is usually the mainstream position of atheists.
Yeah, depends on the definition. Because when we say we lack belief in God, because we're trying to cover every single definition of God. Well, not every single, the most common, the most understood. We're trying to be more inclusive, okay? Even though most gods that people believe in are gods that you could comfortably be Gnostic atheist towards, we're trying to be a little bit more inclusive and include the deistic gods, and that's why the definition of God that we are including is any conscious creator of the universe, whether it's involved in the material world or it isn't. Okay, but we have to understand that people that think that God is not involved in the material world are such a fringe group of people that we could have ignored them anyways and just gone with the full with the understanding, with the most common understanding of God, which we could comfortably be Gnostic atheists towards. Okay, we're just trying to be a little bit more inclusive. Okay, and we're still being exclusive in the definitions of God, which is just the most moronic ones. It's the most useless definitions of God, which is God is love, God is math, God is energy. We're not including all those people, because if we want to include that definition of God, then all of us become theists, because I don't know, energy exists, math exists, love exists. So yeah, it would be idiotic if we include those definitions.
They would tell you, I'm not convinced with the reasons that you are presenting me to believe in God, therefore I don't believe in God. But this position is one of agnosticism at the same time, because they don't really know. And they...
agnosticism is not a position. It's mostly the level, so that's your atheism or your theism is your position. The Gnostic, whether you're Gnostic or agnostic, a more simple way of explaining that is your level of certainty, but that's not very accurate. But agnosticism itself is not a position. So you could be a Gnostic atheist or an agnostic atheist, depending on the God that is being defined, or you could be an agnostic theist or a Gnostic theist. By the way, in the live chat, how many of you are agnostic atheists and how many of you are Gnostic atheists towards an Abrahamic God? Oh my God. Okay. Christopher is saying the double slit experiment proves God doesn't exist, because if all-knowing entity existed, particles would always be observed. I don't know if I'm okay. Sure. I mean, not really. I mean, if you believe in a God that could just break the laws of nature, then that's not going to be true, right? Here comes the SHITT. Why agnostics again? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Agnostics, most atheists are agnostic atheists. Okay, yeah, DTR, if you include deist gods, by the way. DTR is an agnostic atheist. Hossein is saying this is a common thing for Christians and Muslim apologetics, basically separate I think this is THEIR, their God from the religion. And since we don't deny that, usually we become agnostic. Yes, you're right. Because they know a deistic God is much easier to defend than their own crappy, ridiculous God. So they keep like if you look at their philosophy and everything, I mean, a deistic God is a useless God to defend, but is their Abrahamic God is so indefensible that they try to defend that God instead. And they show that we are they try to portray us as just being agnostics rather than, Yes. So Christopher is saying, yes, you're a Gnostic atheist towards an Abrahamic God. Same here. I'm a Gnostic atheist towards Abrahamic gods and most other gods from history. Katie's saying totally Gnostic towards all religious gods, and I might have an argument that Gnosticism towards the deistic God might make sense too. Would be interested in hearing that, Katie. You're saying I am agnostic towards sky deities, but I think the first one you meant to be saying Gnostic. I am Gnostic towards sky deities, but agnostic towards this nature worship. Guys, nature. If you're talking about pantheism, that's just a redefinition of God so that they could include nature. That God technically exists, but that God is not the God that people talk about. I could name this plant God, and all of a sudden I'm a theist because this plant does exist. Yeah, okay, Christopher. Yeah, but that's not the. Yeah, those are different arguments. Yeah, Hussein is actually a deist. Hussein, how could you be a deist? You're the grandson of the prophet. All right, let's continue.
Admit that quite usually. The thing is that Ridvan here is saying that he knows there is no God. So to rephrase his statement, he's saying, I know that a reality which I can have possibly no knowledge about does not exist.
Yeah, you're just putting words in his mouth. This guy thinks he's so clever. He's just putting words in his mouth and then refuting that he's just doing a straw man. No, he did not say that. You defined the God that he was refuting for him, and now you are coming up with an argument that he did not make. Really, and you think you're clever because of it.
It's kind of a contradiction. I know that something I cannot possibly verify does not exist. And this is why he fails right at the beginning.
You just failed. We're 2 minutes in your 20-minute video and you committed a straw man. You failed right in the beginning.
In this video, we will see some of his reasons for being an atheist, inshallah. Stay tuned.
I don't believe in God. I think one of the most problematic things for me when I was a Muslim was to look at a map of the distribution of religious groups and to think a little bit further about that. In fact, I'll do it right here. There are many maps which show the distribution of religious groups. Here is one of them. Some of these maps may divide Christian beliefs into separate religions, and some do the same with Islam. But I think it's totally sufficient to simply look at a map that colors the map by the major religions. When I look at this map, I see something that I could never unsee when I was a Muslim.
Wow. Wow. Hey, guys, this is where we get the wow from. Wow. Say it with me in the live chat. Say it with me. Wow. Guys, this is, look at this. What an honor. We get this wow.
And as someone who really loves maps, it always disturbed me when I came across a map of religions. What I see is that the religion that you believe in depends very much on the circumstances that you are brought into when you are born. If you're born in the middle of America, you are very likely to be born into Christianity.
Oh, wow. You guys really delivered. Look at this. Wow. Wow, wow. Insha Armin. Yes, exactly. Wow, wow. Yeah, I like Fatima now. Wow, wow. Okay. Hold on.
If you are born in Italy, you are even more likely to.
When Apostate Prophet says, or any other atheist say that God doesn't exist, they want to say God, a concept is flawed and it doesn't exist. Am I right? I don't know what you mean by that question. When we say God doesn't exist, it just simply means that the God doesn't exist, or it's so unlikely for it to exist that we treat it as something like as if it doesn't exist. Okay, because there are many things that the chances of them existing so close to zero that you might as well act like they are non-existent. Anyways, let's focus on this video, guys. Guys, make sure when you're tagging, it's something in this video. Now we're talking about maps. Now the conversation is about maps and the distribution of religions, okay?
To be a Christian. In Poland, even more. If you're born in Saudi Arabia, you're almost definitely a Muslim. If you're born in Pakistan or Egypt, you are again most likely a Muslim. And this only scratches the...
Not anymore in Iran. I know that. And also, actually, I'm not even sure anymore about Saudi Arabia, okay? I don't know. I'm going to give you guys some more information later. But, I mean, it's almost you're more likely to be Muslim, but almost guaranteed. I think it's pushing it a little bit too far now. Thanks to people like Ridwan himself. Hold on.
In Poland, even more. If you're born in Saudi Arabia, you're almost definitely a Muslim.
No, not anymore. Doesn't seem like that anymore. We're getting some conflicting reports, and I mean, it's still very likely. I would say you're very likely a Muslim, but almost definitely not anymore. Not anymore. Not even in Saudi effing Arabia.
If you're born in Pakistan or Egypt, you are again most likely a Muslim.
Most likely, yes. Almost definitely not.
And this only scratches the surface. I was born in Germany, which is predominantly Christian, although Germans don't really care that much about religion anymore. But since I was born into a Turkish Muslim immigrant family in Germany, I was born into Islam and was raised as a Muslim. Most people who, like in my case, are born into such Muslim families would live their lives as Muslims and die as Muslims. Most of them would never change their beliefs. I was just an exception. I had different interests, a different personality, maybe a combination of things that happened in my life, and I chose to abandon.
He's not going to say it. You're smarter and more curious. That's what it is. Our apostate prophet, our prophet be humble, unlike me, okay? You're just smarter and more curious. You have superior genes or something. Hussein is saying, well, statistically, Ridwan is right because many people are forced to be in the closet. Okay, Hussein, I think your definition of what the Muslim is flawed. If you're forced to be in the closet, then you're not a Muslim. If you're in the closet, you mean you're an ex-Muslim in the closet. So no, you're not a Muslim. I don't care what you call it, what they call you. I don't care what label they give you. I don't care what you pretend to be. I mean, I do care actually, but for our purposes, you're not a Muslim. Just because you say you're a Muslim, just because your ID says you're a Muslim, just because the census says you're a Muslim, if you don't believe in Allah, or if you don't believe in Muhammad as a prophet, or if you don't believe that the Quran is the direct word of God, you are not a Muslim. But they said, no, then you're Hussein, you're wrong. Me sometimes I feel like maybe Karbala was a good thing that happened. Yeah, okay, Christopher. Yes, I agree with you, but I'm not going to read it because we're going to focus on the maps now, or else we're going to stay on this video forever. Yes, exactly. Oh my God. Guys, I don't think you do. I think most of you don't understand the difference between more likely or almost definitely. You guys are just like, maybe go back to school and do some probability and statistics and something like that. Okay, Dolly is wishing she was born on Mars. All right, let's continue.
And in my beliefs and to change them. But most people don't do that. In modern times, religious interactions may have become much more common, but still, most people stay within the religions that they are born into. Only few people abandon their religion, and only a very tiny number of people, maybe a statistically insignificant number of people, convert to a different religion permanently. And this intrusive idea that I always got when I looked at this map is, how could I possibly believe that my religion is the true one, the right one, the good one, when the conviction that my religion is the right one only depends on where I am born. And
okay, so again, I mean, it's very true everything he's saying, but I think he should drop the word. I mean, I don't want to be this nitpicky about it, but he shouldn't say only. Like, look at this.
Is, how could I possibly believe that my religion is the true one, the right one, the good one, when the conviction that my religion is the right one only depends on
where
I am born. And in
okay, no, don't. I mean, okay, I'm being nitpicky. I'm sorry. I'm being nitpicky just because the Apostate Prophet here is at his Meccan phase, so I get to be nitpicky. I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that he hasn't established the Caliphate yet, so I have the freedom to criticize our dear Prophet. I wouldn't say only depends on, based on the things that he just said before, right? Like he said, like he was an exception. He himself shows that it doesn't only depend on where you were born, but he should. I think if I was changing something, I would just say it is very much influenced by where you are born, instead of saying only depends on where you are born.
What time?
I cannot help but notice that what Ridwan is describing is a big issue, and that compromised his faith when he was still a Muslim is in reality but a very poor argument that is not taken seriously by theologians or philosophers alike.
Okay, so then guys, then nobody should be. This is such a lame and cringy comeback. There are a lot of commentators that have good comments that, first of all, if your argument is not, don't worry about theologians. Theologians shouldn't be taken seriously by anybody. So if your arguments are not being taken seriously by theologians, that's not a bad thing, okay? The theologians are the people that need to be worried about people taking them seriously for anything. Look at this. Look at the comeback here.
So I cannot help but notice that what Ridwan is describing is a big issue, and that compromised his faith when he was still a Muslim is in reality but a very poor argument that is not taken seriously by theologians or
not taken seriously by theologians. Wow. Look at not taken seriously by theologians. Oh, what a poor argument. Your argument will not be taken seriously by theologians. Good. The theologians should not be taken seriously by anybody. The theologians are people who try to count the number of angels on on a head of a needle, right? So yeah, people that are having arguments about magic and spells and superstition, and they think they're intellectuals because they come up with very fill libraries with nonsense, and they go into so much nuance and details about it. They think like, and they congratulate each other about the so-called scholarly work that they're doing. Yeah, those are just children acting like playing with fairy tales and living in La La Land, and they want to be taken seriously by the rest of the world, and they think that we should feel like we should be taken less seriously because theologians wouldn't take our argument seriously. If a theologian is taking your argument seriously, it better be because you're shaking their faith, because if it's for any other reason, you're spewing nonsense. Okay. Yeah, wow, you guys really deliver every time I say wow. That's great. Yes, Armin. Yeah, Armin or Amen? Armin? Or is this a version of Armin with my name? Theologians shouldn't be taken seriously. Exactly. No, nobody should take theologians seriously. Yeah, it is an appeal to authority. You're right. It's an appeal to authority. And guys, should anybody, like, you know how many people should just shut up? If you know who else? You know who else wouldn't be taken seriously? Okay, never mind. Because a lot of great thinkers wouldn't be taken seriously by theologians because they completely dismiss the supernatural world, and they're yet great thinkers. And just because theologians are not taking it seriously, you want to just be like, what kind of a responses? And this is a guy that has this like such a cringe response to Ridwan, and he thinks like he's like, this is such a gotcha video.
Or philosophers.
Yeah, should be a thing. Armin. Yes. With their prayer hand. Let's do that. Oh no, wait. Susanna is not here, so we could allow this.
Alike, the Catholic writer Trent Horn describes this more as a bad attitude than a proper argument. And this further prompts me.
Look at these responses. Look at your responses. You think your responses are proper arguments? He's like, this is not an argument. It's like a bad attitude. And he's criticizing other people for not making any arguments, and yet he thinks this is a proper response.
Me to believe that Ridwan is not really philosophically prepared, to be having this kind of talks. Let's see why it's a bad argument.
Okay, great. So he's actually, after going personally trying to like dismiss him, then he's basically setting up, you go after the guy. You create a frame of mind for your audience before you actually to dismiss them and make them look ridiculous before you actually go in and look at the argument. So you already set the mind of your audience in a position to be dismissive of everything Ridwan says before you actually address whether or not he's making a good point. Hossein is saying bringing up philosophers is another common tactic from apologists since they've had a monopoly on it for close to 2,000 years. Very good point, Hossein. They're like, oh my God, look at this. All of these great thinkers were Muslim or Christian. Or we're like, yeah, as opposed to what? Everybody, like, yeah, as opposed to what? Okay, let's continue.
So Ridwan is claiming that you cannot believe your religion to be the right one because such belief only depends on where you are born. Now, the first logical issue.
I mean, technically, Ridwan himself suggested that it's not. I mean, he said only, and that I think he should fix. He would be better if he fixed that. But technically, he himself admitted that it's not only, because he mentioned himself as an exception and other people as exceptions, and saying for some places saying more likely, and even for Saudi Arabia he said almost definitely, not definitely. So yeah, so I mean, he said only, which that part should be fixed, but that's nitpicking.
I have with this statement is that he's conjuring up this only depends on where you are born.
Yeah, okay, so that's fair. The only part shouldn't be there.
I mean, the logical fallacy he's committing is simply ascribing motives to people's convictions behind their beliefs that he has really no means to verify. Well, unless he asks them, of course. And I'm pretty sure that if he was to ask any believer,
come on, you know he doesn't really mean it, because okay, this is such a okay, so he's being more nitpicky than I am, because of course Apostate Prophet knows that there are atheists in Saudi Arabia, there are Christians in Iran, there are Muslims in United States. So, you know, as much as we want to play like, oh my God, he's a nitpicky, you shouldn't have said only, like, this is unfair, because you know that he himself knows that this is not the only factor. You know, you could be like, I mean, based on all the conversations that the videos he made, the conversations he had, I had a live stream with him talking about how Islam is is very likely a minority religion now in Iran. So of course he knows this thing. So, you know, you could pick this only thing and say like, oh, he's wrong. But if you want to be charitable, you could know that he knows that there are other factors at play here as well, because of all the other videos he's made.
From any different religion, even if they're born and raised into it, I'm pretty sure they would come up with reasons that are not just, well, because I was born into it. That's really not charitable. And
yeah, he's not, yeah, but that's not what he believes, and you're not being very charitable for assuming just because of that use the word only, because I know you watch all of his other content, so you know that that's not necessarily what he thinks. He's actively part of the reason why so many people are not Muslim, even in Muslim majority countries. So he knows that it's not only, because why would he make, like, here's the thing, he's making videos against Islam in Turkish. So if he thought that the only indicator of what religion you have is where you're born, why would he even try to reach the Turkish audience? Because your video would not have any influence, because that wouldn't even be a factor, right? So we know that that's not, again, this guy, like, I was being nitpicky, but I knew that Apostate Prophet knows more than that. I just thought like he was just, he was trying to emphasize by using the word only, because he could have said a major factor, but he was emphasizing and used only, and I think he should have said major factor. But I know that he knows that that's not necessarily true. Okay, that's what I mean, if I want to be charitable. So it's very interesting that this coming from this guy, what's his name again, Full Metal Theist, saying that Apostate Prophet is not being charitable, while he himself is not being charitable. Let me actually pay attention a little bit to live chats if I missed anything. Hossein saying the argument is still very valid. Allah or Yahweh influence is very much affected by geopolitics. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Apostate Prophet is making a really good point, because the fact that your place of birth has a strong influence on what your religion is going to be should give you a lot of skepticism about what the hell, how could I be so sure about my religion when it's so much influenced by where I was born. And he's missing that entire point by focusing on the only part, right? So he's just throwing, like, Ridwan is making a very important point, and he's just like completely distracted. Like, I was a little distracted by the word only, but he's like not even paying attention to the main point of the argument that Ridwan is making. Not only, but exactly. Pyro is making a good point here. Not only, but the highly likelihood of a person being born in a specific area with specific parents, the child will have religion that is from an area. Yes, and again, that should make you extremely suspicious about the validity of the religion that you end up being born into, and that's Rizwan's point. And this guy is missing it because he's fixating on the word only. Full mental theist. Okay.
And starting with a quick logical analysis of the inference itself, there is really nothing stopping one from believing that his religion is the right one, actually. Despite being born and raised into it, people can believe whatever they want. How can...
Well, he didn't say they can't. That's a straw man. But did Ridwan ever suggest that they can't?
I believe. Well, they can still believe that, even if they're wrong. I'm just making an analysis of the inference here, because, Ivan, you gotta be careful about what kind of words you use. If you're doing philosophy, you need to do it well and be precise about what you say.
Maybe take some of your advice. You're responding to claims that he did not make.
Now, there's an addition to be made that for religion aside, for all of our political, scientific, and ethical beliefs, we would say that even if other people disagree with them and do not live in places that teach these beliefs as true, that doesn't mean that these beliefs are false. That alone does not establish these beliefs as false.
No, it doesn't. But it makes it very likely, right? Because it's a major red flag. It should be a major red flag, right? Like, for example, if you look at the scientific method, if you apply it in Japan or in the United States or in Africa, or well, actually South Africa. See, I caught myself. Do not treat the entire continent like comparing it next to other countries. Let me actually, Zimbabwe. Here, there you go. Ghana. Yes, Egypt. If you apply the scientific method, you got to get the same results, repeatable. You use the same methodology. The results are repeatable in different places, right? But it seems like if you apply faith, you get different results based on where you are, and that should mean that maybe it's not. Maybe faith is not a reliable source of method to come up with conclusions. I mean, if you don't come to that conclusion based on this, again, it's a very strong indication that this is not the right way of coming up to conclusions. Okay, and sometimes people, again, people in day-to-day life, when they're not doing philosophy or where they're making YouTube videos and they're having conversations about their beliefs and ideas, they're not going to be as picky as to make sure when they say something is not true or this concluded me. Like, for example, all right, if I say, I don't believe in werewolves, am I say, and I'm saying that no, werewolves are not real. Technically, these are two different statements, but in the real world, we treat them as if they're the same thing. Like, we use them interchangeably. Saying that I don't believe in werewolves and saying that werewolves are not real, one of them is a lack of belief, one of them is a claim. But if I'm making a YouTube video and I'm talking to people, we treat these two statements as if they are saying the same thing, right? So when you making a YouTube video and you're saying like, hey, because of this shows that this is not true, like this shows, like when you look at the map and you see like everybody, most people believe in what they believe based on where they're born, and faith seems to be giving you random answers that is not repeatable, and it seems to be more the answers that you get, it seems to be more connected to your culture, to politics, to your geography, rather than it being tied to any objective reality. And based on that, I concluded that it's all a bunch of horse crap. You might be nitpicky and be like, well, that you shouldn't conclude that. That should just make you, the statement should be that it makes me be skeptical of it, or makes me, it's a red flag. It doesn't necessarily prove that it's a bad method, but it's highly suggestive, and I'm going to look into it, right? But technically, in real world, we don't say that. We just say like, yeah, I think it's horse crap because look at this. The results are not based on objective reality. They're based on their conclusions that you're getting are based on many other factors that is not repeatable, right? So in common language, we just say, yeah, that's horse crap, right? So he wants to like apply the standards of how people have conversations, in philosophy. He wants to apply that standard to a YouTuber that is just having a conversation to his audience about why he's an atheist, right? But we understand that that's what he means, right? So if you ask me, for example, like look at the title of my book. The title of my book is Why There Is No God. Okay? By the way, you can get a free copy of this book if you subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you're going to get a free copy of Why There's No God. Okay? We'll send to you. once you confirm your subscription. Okay, this is not an accurate title. Okay, the accurate title would not fit on the cover, and I explained that in the introduction. The accurate title would be why there is no evidence for the existence of God, and given the lack of evidence for the existence of God, the likelihood of existence of any God is so close to zero that we treat it as if there is no God. Okay? That would not fit on a cover. That would not be a good title, right? And people don't talk like that, right? Because if people talk like that in normal life, they would have to be like, "Hey, Armin, is that a good restaurant? Should we go there?" I would be like, if I wanted to be very accurate, I wouldn't be like, "Yeah, it's a good restaurant. Go try it out." Instead of saying that, I would have to tell you, what do I have to tell you? I would like, well, I've ate there 20 times, and all 20 times I enjoyed the food, but we have to take into account that my personal experience, that 20 times might be just by accident. Maybe those were just the days that they just happened to have a certain cook. So there's no guarantee that the 20 times that I went there, my pleasant experience of the food there would mean that the food is good there all the time. And also my personal taste in food is different, might be different from yours. So you have to take that into account. And just because I enjoyed the food, I had like a literal orgasm in my mouth every time I ate there, that does not mean that you're going to have the same experience, even if the food is same every time they cook it there. There's no guarantee. We have all the taste of food is subjective, and you're asking me if the food is objectively good, and technically any food cannot even be objectively good in any way. Like objectively, food is not good or bad. Objectively, the taste, like what is taste? How do you even define taste? Like, is there, without the human mind of concepting taste, is there such a thing as good taste or bad taste? Like, is that independent from humans' perceptions of the universe? So, like, let's even have a conversation about what is it a good restaurant? What do you even mean by good? Can we even have a discussion about good? Like, what is good? What is bad? Like, is that how people talk? No, people don't talk like that. Right? Like, no, it's a good restaurant. Okay, it's just a good restaurant. Okay, so that's why that's how we treat things. Okay, so if you ask me, Armin, is there Santa Claus? I'm going to be saying like, no, there's no goddamn Santa Claus, you goddamn idiot. I'm not going to be like, well, technically, if there could be a Santa Claus, but it's very unlikely. No, we don't talk like that. No, there's no freaking Santa Claus. Okay, so why are we treating in everyday life? Why are we treating God as a special case? You know, we just putting God high on a pedestal here, right? God is not special. Religious people want to act like this ridiculous view in God is something special, separate from belief in Santa Claus. It's not that special. If I am comfortable enough to tell you there's no goddamn Santa Claus, even though technically there could be one that nobody is able to detect, there's a Santa Claus that is undetectable to the whole world. And well, if it's undetectable, then there's nobody that could prove it, that it doesn't exist. Given that, no, we're going to say there's no Santa Claus, so just let's treat God the same way. You're going to say that there's no goddamn God. There is no God. Is that philosophically accurate to say? No, it's not accurate to say, but I'm not going to treat your God more special than a goddamn Santa Claus. So I'm just going to say there is no God, okay? That's how people talk. So going back to this video, he could, what was he even saying, yo?
Doesn't mean that these beliefs are false.
Yeah, so it doesn't technically mean that these beliefs are false, but it's so highly suggestive. It's so highly suggesting that these views are false that you could just treat them as false. Okay? Yeah, it doesn't technically 100. It's not like a mathematical proof that it's false, but it's so highly suggestive that you could I can apply some Occam's razor and just be like, you know what? It's so probably false that we could just treat it as false. Okay? Anyways, sorry, I missed everything in the live chat. If I missed out, if you're a member, okay, here. A random guy saying, please review the end of Muhammad. God damn it, guys, please focus on what we're talking about. Don't tag me if you're talking about something else. Okay, here, Hussein is talking about something that we're talking about. I think it's also a red flag when certain thing is only believed in a certain part of the world and hold nothing objective to prove their existence in others. Yes, it's such a red flag that you could just throw it out in the garbage, okay? At some point, your ideas have so many red flags on them that you just be like, why am I even wasting my time on this? Why am I even wasting my time? This is just more red flag than idea here, okay?
That alone does not establish these beliefs as false, nor these beliefs are false unless challenged. Lack of challenge to my beliefs does not establish that my belief is necessarily wrong. These are
He didn't say that.
all a bunch of non sequiturs.
You're making a bunch of strawmans.
Simple terms, the geographical dominance of a certain belief tells us nothing, whether that
Oh, look at him, this guy. He went from what tells us nothing. Okay, see, now he's making absolute claims. He went after Redmond's only, and he was like, "Oh my God, only." He said only. That's such an absolute statement. Okay, and I said that even before he did. Okay, and now he says like it tells us nothing. Really, does that not suggest to you that that the views are independent? Does that not even slightly suggest to you that the views people have is independent from objective reality and more correlated to their culture and their upbringing? Tells us nothing? Tells us nothing? Okay, look at this guy. Like, he is now doing the same thing that he criticized Ridwan for.
belief is right or wrong.
Tells us nothing, really, nothing at all. Wow. Yeah.
Leaving my religion, I could have gone into Muslim apologetics, and I could have made many arguments that are very convincing in favor of Islam. Arguments that I would have thought were very solid. Muslim arguments are very laughable to me right now, but to the average Muslim who wants to stay within Islam, Islam is quite convincing. And to them, their arguments are very solid, even if to me they look very ridiculous. Well, Christians also make very solid arguments for their religion, or so they believe. Protestants make solid arguments. Orthodox Christians make solid arguments. Catholics make solid arguments for their beliefs. Sunni Muslims make solid arguments. Shia Muslims make very convincing arguments as they believe. Hindus make solid arguments. Jews make solid arguments.
Hey, I haven't speeded. Yeah, guys, I have not sped up this video, okay? This is Full Metal Theist has sped up this video.
Arguments. As long as you want to justify your beliefs, you will find solid arguments. All of them believe that their own convictions are definitely very reliable, very solid. And they believe in that just as much as I did when I was still a Muslim, and I believed in the defenses of...
Once again, not a very great display of critical thinking from Ridvan.
Why does he speak so slowly?
The reason for that is that he seems to be making two very fallacious implications. The first one, he seems to be implying that just because there is a multiplicity of competing religious systems, then that should somehow tell us something about the truth value of our own religious system.
No! You idiot! That's not what he was saying. Oh my God. He was responding to a claim. Look at this guy. Oh my God. That's not what he was doing. You didn't even understand his argument. Okay. Oh my God. So he was responding to people that say like, oh, okay, let's listen to this again one more time.
Protestants make solid arguments. Orthodox
dominance of
Muslim apologetics, and I could have made many arguments that are very convincing in favor of Islam. Arguments that I would have thought were very solid. Muslim arguments are very laughable to me right now, but to the average Muslim who wants to stay within Islam, Islam is quite convincing. And to them, their arguments are very solid, even if to me they look very ridiculous. Well, Christians also make very solid arguments for their...
This is a response to people that say there is a lot of solid argument. Like the people that say like, look, we have solid arguments, okay, towards that Islam is real, okay? But just because you really believe that you have some solid arguments, like that claim, you need, okay, so the degree of certainty and conviction that you have in your religion, if you notice that Christians are doing the same thing and Jews are doing the same thing and Hindus are doing the same thing, dismisses the fact that your conviction and your the level of certainty that you have in your views should be shaken by the fact that you are right next to other people that have this, make the same arguments and use the same methodology and have the same conviction and faith, but yet they have come to conclusions that are completely in contradiction to your entire worldview. Okay? So, like, for example, a Muslim can come and say, like, look, I have really strong faith and I have a solid conviction into Islam being true. Okay. And I say, like, okay, how do you know it? Like, and they say, like, I have, this is what I just know it. I just know it. Like, okay, your methodology of just having strong conviction and believing something is true has been applied by other people, and they have come to conclusions such as Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, and many other religions. Okay. So given that your methodology, the same exact methodology, or maybe it's not faith, maybe it's the same line of reasoning that, you know, Muslims use for believing in the Quran, and you say, like, look, if this methodology is giving you such random conclusions that are not consistent at all, then wouldn't that make you question the methodology that you're using, right? So you're just saying that we have, and again, a lot of people just say that they have solid arguments, right? And they think, like, just the mentioning of their scholars, so-called scholars, and thinkers who believe in the things that they do, that put them for that position of authority, gives them enough excuse to think, like, well, there must be something there behind Islam or behind Christianity. But if that was a way of coming up with a conclusion, then both Islam and Christianity would have to be true at the same time, right? So you just mentioning to religious people that, well, you say that, but so do the Christians, that should give you some pause. That should make you rethink, like, well, I have to have something more than that argument for me to say that I believe in Islam. There should be, I can't just point to our scholars, because Christians can do that same. I can't just point to the level of conviction that I have because Christians could do the same thing. I can't just point to the fact that I use faith or revelation or this inner feeling, because Christians could do the same thing. And we cannot be there. We cannot have this. My conclusion and the Christian conclusion cannot be true at the same time. So there's something wrong with this methodology. Okay, that's the entire point. It's not. The claim is not that just because there are multiple people, like, that's such a straw man. The claim is not that just because different people have different beliefs, that makes it all not true. That is like the most uncharitable rephrasing of the argument here, that you have to be like either a moron or just being maliciously uncharitable for you to be able to make your point. Or maybe a third option that I can't think of right now.
Their religion, or so they believe. Protestants make solid arguments. Orthodox Christians make solid arguments. Catholics make
so-called solid arguments.
Solid arguments for their beliefs. Sunni Muslims make solid arguments. Shia Muslims make very convincing arguments as they believe. Hindus make solid arguments. Jews make solid arguments. As long as you want to justify your beliefs, you will find solid arguments.
Yes. Especially one problem with all of this methodology is that they have the conclusion in mind, and then they go look for what they think is arguments, but what's actually excuses. They go look for evidence with the conclusion in mind, rather than doing it the other way around. Okay, Dolly, I want to highlight your comments. Make sure if you have good comments, so make sure you tag Atheist Republic so I can read them. Dolly is saying Full Metal Theist is absolutely an idiot. Like what the hell? And why he always criticizes the Apostate Prophet. I mean, I don't think it's okay to criticize the Apostate Prophet. His arguments are just he just doesn't have good criticism, and I can't click on the link that you're sending. It's okay, it's okay to criticize the Apostate Prophet. I wish they just had better arguments, because this is pathetic.
All of them believe that their own convictions are definitely very reliable, very solid. And they believe in that just as much as I did when I was still a Muslim, and I believed in the defenses of...
Once again, not a very great display of critical thinking from Ridvan. The reason for that is that he seems to be making two very fallacious implications. The first one, he seems to be implying that just because there is a multiplicity of competing religious systems, then that should somehow tell us something about the truth value of our own religious system. And
it's not just no. So you, sir, do not understand. It's not just the multiplicity. It's the fact that they are so random, okay, and it's so all over the place, without any consistency, without any predictive power, with a full. You get conclusions that contradict the other conclusions. Okay, so if you have a methodology that gives you answers that keep progressively become more become less contradictory and have more predictive power, and that the results are repeatable, you have a good methodology. If you have a methodology that is giving you multiple answers that are self-contradictory, that have zero predictive power, and that are not repeatable, and seem to be tied more to other factors rather than anything that could be described as objective reality, then the multiplicity of your answers suggests that your methodology as coming to these answers are flawed. Okay, so it's not just the multiplicity of it, and the fact that you don't understand that makes me wonder why you even think that. Okay,
this is false. A multiplicity alone does not really tell us anything of the truth value of the single instances. So it's a non sequitur. It doesn't follow. The second...
Again, you don't understand the argument, and you're trying to refute an argument that you don't understand.
Implication he seems to be making is that just because there's other people from other competing religious systems, and they're very convinced about those beliefs that are contrary to the ones that we are holding, then that should somehow as well tell us something about the truth value of our own religious system. And this is false as well. The state of conviction that someone has in certain beliefs contrary to the ones we hold does not really tell us anything about the truth value of the belief we are holding, nor about the belief they are very convinced into. There's many...
Not if they use the same arguments and methodology and get completely contradictory results. Okay? Imagine if the scientific method, depending on when and where you use it, gave you not just multiple answers, but gave you multiple answers that completely contradict the previous ones, instead of building on it and made it better and more, more predictive, give it more predictive power, and had more explaining power every time. Instead of that, imagine if you used it, but every time you use it on by a different person in a different area, it gave you different answers. Okay, so it's not just the fact that they're contradictory. It's the fact that they're contradicting each other while using the exact same methodology. That tells you something. It's not just about the whether or not the conclusions are right, is how much you could rely on the methodology that you're using to come up to these conclusions. You guys, again, you have to be more worried about the methodology than the conclusion itself, because if you have the right methodology, you are still going to get bad conclusions, but you're just going to get more good conclusions relative to the methodology that is bad, that is going to sometimes randomly give you good answers, but more often is going to give you bad answers, right? So if you use a methodology like the scientific method, you are sometimes still going to get bad conclusions, but you are going to get you repeatedly are going to get way superior conclusions that keep progressively getting better, keep getting better, compared to using a methodology like revelation, faith, or theological arguments again, like, look at theological arguments. You could bend them to get to any conclusions you want, right? Just if you look at theological arguments, once you clean it from all the big words and the purposefully added complexity that they add to some ridiculously simple and flawed argument just to make it seem more intelligent. Once you wash it off of it and you look at what the actual statement is, which is something that a child should be able to laugh at, you could see that these arguments can be bent and flexed towards any form of conclusions that you want. So when the theologian, for example, has a conclusion already in mind, the methodology that they use to get to that conclusion can be easily bent to get to a completely contradictory conclusion. Okay, and that's how you know this methodology is actually not only wrong but extremely dangerous, because you could justify the most horrific things with this methodology. So even if you use this flawed methodology to get to some good conclusions that we could endorse because our own superior methodology has gotten, for example, let's say use like Enlightenment philosophy to get to some serious good conclusions, right? And then you use faith and revelation to get to the same conclusions, right? So, for example, let's say we look at, we use empirical analysis and data and statistics to know that, yes, women rights is women having the same rights as men is good for the society, okay? So we use a superior methodology to get to this conclusion. And now somebody comes and says, well, my book, my divine source of authority says, yes, my divine source of authority also says that women should have the same rights as men. And we're like, oh, okay, great. Then we're coming up to the same conclusion, and we could endorse your methodology. No, do not endorse that methodology, because again, the methodology is more important than the conclusion. Just because they came to the right conclusion, that doesn't mean you should endorse that methodology, because that methodology, once you endorse it, once you give it legitimacy, once you give it authority, could be used if all of the same authority can now, if now you say, like, by saying that you accept that conclusion, you're suggesting that this book, whatever this book says, can be seen as you know, as a source of truth. So all of a sudden, if I go to the next page and says, and people who refuse to give the same rights to women as men, you know, crucify them. Like, I wish I didn't, you know, okay? Just focus on endorsing the right methodology. And if your methodology, so full method theist is completely wrong. If your methodology is giving random answers all over the place, self-contradictory, it's it's highly suggestive that your methodology sucks donkey balls, okay?
Factors going on around, and the best you can do here is
donkey balls. Like, wow, yes.
Sit down and have a talk. This is why there's stuff like comparative religions, interfaith dialogues. And the same is to be said about this multiplicity of solid.
This is why teaching comparative religion to more people makes them more atheists. One of the most likely ways of producing atheists is to teach them comparative religions.
Arguments.
Because the more you compare religions together, the more apparent it becomes that they are all a bunch of horse crap.
Keeps ranting about. Just because people are very convinced about arguments coming from theologies that are contrary to our own, it doesn't mean that those arguments are solid. It doesn't mean that those arguments are valid. It doesn't mean that they're not valid. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily false. Just because there's a competing multiplicity of instances, that tells us nothing. And think about it.
Yeah, you don't understand the point and you're refuting nothing.
This argument is so much of a garbage.
The argument is garbage because the argument that you're responding to is not the argument that's being made here. So yeah, you're responding to a garbage argument because you don't understand the actual argument.
And Ridvan seems to be quite adamant in thinking that it's a solid argument.
Yeah, Ridvan is making a solid argument. You're just too dumb to understand it.
That make it a solid argument? Quite no. And I also have to say that, religion aside, people believe in all kind of different ideologies. There's so many kind of competing ideologies out there, from science to politics to ethics.
They're not okay. This guy doesn't even understand the meaning of competing.
I'm pretty sure that Ridvan is still holding some kind of beliefs. He's not an absolute skeptic just because there's a multiplicity of competing ideas.
It's not about the fact. Okay, so Like, for example, in science, if there is, like, let's say there's two scientists that have two different conclusions and they're trying to figure out who's right. Their research papers are giving contradictory results, okay? That they see that as a problem because they cannot both be true at the same time, right? So they go and figure out how to tweak. More scientists will come and see which research paper is more repeatable, to try to come out, look at the methodology in the scientific. So they for example, in the scientific method, if you come up with the contradictory answers, you rightfully see that as an issue, that they cannot both be true at the same time. Only in something as garbage and moronic as theology, you see as the multiplicity and contradictory answers as something that is not an issue, and that doesn't dismiss the methodology that was being conducted to come to your conclusion. Because in science, if you see that two different research papers come up to contradictory answers, you do realize that one of the methodologies must be flawed, or maybe they're both flawed, and there's a constant improvement happening here. Yeah, you keep moving forward, and your models of the universe keeps getting better and better and better, and you can tell that they're getting better because they become progressively less contradictory and progressively increase in predictive power. But if you look at religion, as time goes by, not only these contradictions do not go away, they come up with more and more religions, more and more ideas that are even more contradictory, and none of them has ever had any predictive power on anything, and they have not provide anything useful to anybody ever, right? So yeah, so you can see, like, it's not just a multiplicity, and it's not even just a contradiction. It's how those contradictions are treated in methodology, like the scientific method, compared to something like religion.
Ideologies out there. I think he believes in democracy. Are we now to put the validity of democracy in question for the simple fact that there's other political ideologies out there? No,
you see, this guy's a goddamn moron. Okay. No, you could compare. So see, if you have democracy and you have fascism, okay, and you say one person says democracy is the best way, is a better, superior method to fascism to rule a country, and somebody says no, fascism is superior to democracy, one of these people is wrong, okay? And if you use the same methodology and you use empirical information and try to do analysis on people's utility and the amount of misery that is caused by democracy relative to fascism, and if you use the same methodology and you come to two answers, like two contradictory answers, then you know, like, okay, maybe empiricism is crap, right? Like maybe the scientific method doesn't work, right? Because I'm pretty sure if you actually go and do studies and do research and try to figure out which methodology is superior when it comes to lifting up, saving the highest number of people from misery and bringing safety and happiness and comfort to the highest number of people, if you use the scientific method and do proper data collection methods, then you're going to see, like, okay, yeah, it seems like the data very conclusively show that one is better than the other. Okay, so it's not about it's not about the fact that you have many different conclusions, many different beliefs. It's about the fact that your methodology is good enough to show one of them is superior, like gives you a clear answer, and when it doesn't give you a clear answer, it tells you that it doesn't have an answer and that we do not know. Okay, when it comes to religion, you use the same methodology, and boom, you get Christianity. Boom, you get Islam. Boom, you get Jainism. Boom, you get Hinduism, right? Same methodology. So it's a crappy methodology. I almost swore.
Really? Not really.
Again, by the way, guys, I have no problem with swearing. Swearing is good for your health, I think. It's only because of YouTube algorithm. Don't think I'm a Puritan. Don't think I'm a Puritan. Swearing is fantastic. Swear more often, swear as often as you can. Unless there are kids around you, okay? It's really good. It's therapeutic. So yeah, but yeah, YouTube is the only gods that we fear here at Atheist Republic are the YouTube gods.
Really, the existence of other competing ideologies doesn't really tell us anything about the truth value of the one we ascribe to. You need to put it in contrast, you need to put it under scrutiny, you need to have dialogue. This is how you do it.
How could
Okay, so I think I'm gonna focus a little bit more on live chat. Once this live stream is over, let me know in the comment section if you want me to continue the second half of this video. Let me know if this is something you want. I will see based on the number of comments, or if any comments, if this is something that you guys want me to continue. But right now, let me just focus a little bit more on the live chat before I head out. Dali is saying, Full Metal Theist tweeted, Ex-Muslim says, what pushed him into atheism? The first of his reasons is embarrassing. So why is being an atheist could be embarrassing? Real? Okay, so no, I think that's so why is being? I don't think he's saying that being an atheist is embarrassing. I think what he was suggesting that the reason was embarrassing. I think that's what he's saying. Okay, Dolly is saying here that you would like to continue. Okay, because we already reached an hour, so if I want to continue, that's going to be another live stream. Oh wow, this is great. Yeah, Queen Fabi is saying great video commentary, Armin. Oh, this is a great. It's rare to get a. I feel honored to get a compliment by the Queen herself. Yeah, it's rare to get a compliment like this from the Queen. Thank you, Queen Fabi. DTR saying, when will you do the video you were supposed to do with the Indian atheists? What video were I supposed to do with the Indian? I was told that the Indian atheist does not go on other people's channels. Was I misinformed? If I am misinformed, please tell him that he's invited. He can reach out to us. Guys, I'm not gonna go chasing after people. I've tried, it's such a waste of time for me to go chasing after people, okay? They need to email us if they're interested, and then maybe we'll have them on, okay? So please, if he is interested, go tell him to email us and let us know that he is the Indian atheist, and we would be honored to have him on this channel, okay? Hossein is saying this guy is a fake intellect. He completely wished on he wished on App's points. Yeah, he doesn't even get the arguments, and he acts like an intellectual. Oh, thank you so much. I got a medal. Appreciate it. Thank you. Go after Daniel Baklava Pikachu. Daniel Hairechu, I figure. That's a cute name for him, though. That makes him sound very cute. He does look like Pikachu. That's not an insult. That's like okay, yeah. I mean, Daniel Hairechu needs to make shorter videos for me to go out. When he makes 2 or 3 hour videos, what am I gonna do with that? Right? He needs to make like videos under 20 minutes for me to be able to. I wasn't fat shaming. I say he's cute. What the hell? Who did I fat shame right now? I said that he's cute. God damn. Yeah, thank you. I got a kiss from this guy, from Music Guy 20. Anyways, oh, respects from Turkey. Hey. All right. I'm going to head out. It's already been longer than an hour. Queen Fabi is satisfied. And that's all we care about here. Bish. Oh, no. Bish is talking to something else. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. And again, if you can't afford my book, you can get it for free. Link in the description. Subscribe to our newsletter, and you will get the free copy of. Guys, see, I'm so generous. I'm giving you my book for free. Okay, it's a bestseller on Amazon, and I'm giving it to you for free. Link in the description. Subscribe to our newsletter, and you get Why There's No God for free. Free. Just get it. Link in the description. Subscribe. Link in the description. Get the book, Why There's No God. Okay? And if you're getting it for free, if you're getting the book for free, then the least you could do is to go on Amazon and leave a review after. Okay? Doesn't matter. Like, you could leave a negative review or a positive review. It's fine. Just leave a review. Okay? Once you read it, if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy it, just leave a review and let people know why it was good or why it was bad. You got it for free, so you might as well just like give something back in return, right? Oh yeah, Dolly's gonna get it. Yeah, link in the description. All right, thank you guys, and yes, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, hit the bell. Subscribe to our temple and ding the bell before you leave. It's your dharma. It's your dharma. It's hekmah. It's hekmah to subscribe, and it's hekmah to hit the bell. Just do it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's half a second. It helps the channel grow. Do it. Do it. Do it now. And share the video.